Hello and welcome to the JTrain podcast. It's a Chit Chat Wednesday, and today's guest is Rich Aronovitch. Rich is so funny. I've known Rich for like a decade, and he's just one of those people that makes me giggle, like stupid laugh, like fun laugh. He is just fun is just the way to describe his stand-up, and he has a special that's on his website right now. We talk about it on the show. The link to his special is in the description here on YouTube. I want you to check out his special because the final bit is just stupid. It's stupid funny, and I tell this to Rich on the show. I loved watching him do it. It's like, and it made me laugh in the way I laugh at his comedy. And we talk about his what he does. He's taken a different road than me. Hearing his stories about how he started and where he started, it sounds like Forrest Gump. And we talk a little bit about doing cruise ships, which is a whole nother hallway of the comedy world. So I want you to check out the episode. I want you to watch Rich's special because he's so funny and fun to watch on stage. Enjoy today's Chit Chat Wednesday. Welcome to the new JTrain podcast. Hello and welcome to the JTrain podcast. It's JTrain, Jared Freid, coming to you live from the West Village of Manhattan. That's right, every Wednesday is a Chit Chat Wednesday. I get on Zoom with a friend or a comedian or an expert, and today we got three of those. We have a friend, a comedian, and I would say an expert performer. Rich Aronovitch, thank you for coming on the show.
Jared, thank you for having me.
Great to see you. Everyone, you're here because I love watching you and you're great, but also you have a special that's out on your website. It's called The Artist. It is hilarious. I have watched it. It's laugh out loud funny. Go to richisfunny.com. The link is in the description of this episode if you're listening or watching on YouTube. How do you feel? You got a special out there. You feel good?
It's a little nerve-wracking. I didn't know when to put it out because I shot it a couple months ago, and then there's like some jokes that if Trump didn't win, I was like, oh, I got to cut this out. But he won. So I was like, okay, I keep this in. So and then I was like, well, should I put it out now? And I'm like, oh, everyone's kind of tense. Let me hold back. And then I thought, I'll put it out on 1-2-3. January 23rd. Get it 1-2-3.
Yeah.
And then I realized everybody's putting out their specials on YouTube. I saw like a sheet. There's like 30 specials. 28 of them were coming out on YouTube. So I was like, I want to put it up and punch them. I love these guys. So it's easy to find. You just go to my website. And then I'm a little like, I like the responses so far. It did really well. It aired February 6th live, and people actually watched it, which is kind of like cool. And like, I'm just, now I'm like, okay, I've got another one sitting in the queue, and now I got to work on another one.
Right.
So that's good. It motivates you to write.
I did, in the beginning you referenced like, what if he's in, what if he goes to jail? You're talking about Trump, but like, that's the thing. I'm watching this whole thing and I'm like, man, this is like, it was like walking into a comedy club and seeing you like control the room. It felt like I was walking into like a night in time, like it was like, I like that. I like that you're just like hanging out at a comedy club, like that you're like talking with the crowd. Like this feels like I was sitting at one of the tables, having a drink and watching you go. And like, I watch you every night. You're like, I mean, the thing I like about is watching you like perform, like the voices, like there's so many, like, I'm like, I know that person that you just, you do Trump, you do a Trump impression,
well,
but like,
I want to tell you, I do Trump better than Trump. And I'm going to tell you, we're going to turn Palestine into Trump Gaza.
When you do Trump, do you have people that like come up to you and like give you like a reaction that you're like, damn it, like I didn't like does what comes back to you from a Trump impression? So what I try to do is I don't try to disparage him in any kind of way. I sort of try to make him funny without so like I don't want to. Like, I'm not up there to make a point. I'm not like, hey, believe in what I believe or don't believe what I believe. I try to stay pretty much apolitical, but I think he's, I could do him well. So I don't try to piss people off with him.
A little bit. It depends. I kind of read the crowd. Like if I'm in a super red part of the world, I'm not going to say some things. And then when I'm a super blue, they get actually more upset by the truck because it's so good.
Right.
They get more upset about it. I get every now and again online, but online is different than live performance. Online is like opening a window and screaming, and someone's going to scream back. Someone's going to go, "Shut up!" That happens with every video. There's going to be some trolley. Someone who doesn't feel good about their life has to go, I'm gonna take it out on this guy. My dad left, and he had a mustache. So I don't like you. So that's what happens. And then, so every now and again, I get people get upset. What's amazing to me is when they tell you that I'm blocking you. I'm leaving. I'm like, oh, I was watching a show on NBC, and I wanted to change the channel, but I didn't change the channel. I called up the head of NBC. I said, "Can I speak to the president? I'm changing the channel."
Wait, so you talk about your online life now.
That's different than
Well, what do you think about that? So online on TikTok, you are like, I love watching your videos, and they bring happiness to me, but it is different than stand up. Like it's like and so on TikTok, tell people what you do. How did that all start? You dance on TikTok. How did it start?
So during the pandemic. You didn't pronounce it right. I'm leaving. I got challenged by someone to do the TikTok challenge. I didn't even have TikTok at the time. I was like, and so I went on there. I go, what is this? And all I saw was like young girls with the side boob and the butt cheek doing the dance challenge, which I thought was ridiculous. So to make fun of it, I literally put on a bikini and did like a dance. I'm like, oh, this is TikTok. And so I sent that, and people loved it. So
what do you think that people love? Like because I watch you, and it's like, sometimes you're like on a cruise ship and you're just like dancing next to someone, and they like look like they have no idea what's going on. I'm like happy to watch them, and you're not being mean to them. Like sometimes you see like a gotcha moment from people, and I'm like, okay, that person was just going to work, but you're like dancing, and you can see like it's almost like you're dancing in front of a baby. Like when they're older, like you kind of see their reaction change in a way, and you're like, do they have to go to the bathroom? Are they laughing?
Yeah. So what happened was I started to do that thing, but I did it not in public. So I would do it during the pandemic. So I bought all these ridiculous outfits. I had props, and then it morphed into like when we started interacting, I was like, well, what if I turn this kind of pranky, like kind of like, let's see what happens if I do this in public. And I enjoyed that more because it was like, someone was ignoring me, or they were getting into it, or they were upset. But either way, there was a reaction. And then I had like a woman reach out to me that this was why I kept doing it. She said, my sister is not well. We don't know what's wrong with her, but instead of like being really scared or whatever, we're just laughing at your videos.
Yeah.
And so I just was like, I wrote her back. I'm like, are you going to buy my T-shirt or not? Obviously,
but I know you didn't. But your Rich is funny. As long as I've known you, the joke, you're going for the joke. Like when I watch those dancing videos, I can tell that you're enjoying that this person is like, what the hell's going on? And it's not in a way that like, and I want everyone to go follow you. Rich is funny on all platforms, but I want them to watch the special because it's very funny. It's laugh out loud. Like I'm sitting here watching you do the baby accents, and the finishing bit is so stupid that I sat here, I literally watched your closing bit, which everyone should watch, and I go, this is so dumb, as I'm laughing hysterically. Yeah. And I think I'm thinking about you. Like, I'm like, we're going to talk about the special, but I'm like, I think that's what you want, is someone to go, this is so dumb, and laugh while they're saying it. I hope I'm not making, because I really do mean that in the, like, I'm like, but do you feel like I'm like annoyed that like we live in this comedy atmosphere? I start getting annoyed because I'm like, you should be the home of the dumb shit. And sometimes like to like stand out, we have to like, I gotta do a Trump accent, or I gotta, like, and it's like, I want to watch you with the microphone in your hair and watch that for the rest of my life. Like,
yeah. I mean, listen, to be fair,
and I'm referencing the bit, but I'm not going to give it away, but I want everyone to go watch the closing bit because it's like, it's dumb funny. If I was high on my couch, I would go, I would laugh for the rest of I was like, I just was sitting here like, this is so dumb and funny.
So right, so you know that I've been doing this a long time. So that bit was written like that's one of my like early bits. So I'm like, oh, and it is stupid, but it's like what I love about I love different parts of comedy. Like one of my favorites is Steve Martin because he was just so silly.
Yeah.
But he also had smart stuff in there. But he also is super silly.
Is there?
You know what I
so
mean?
sorry to interrupt, but is there room for silly?
I think there. I mean, to me, there has to be, especially like if I put one little nugget of like if I start to get political or whatever, even if I just go like, what's trending? Let me make a joke at it. I'm not commenting about it, but people lose, and I think they're reacting to what what has happened over the last couple of years. Like people are just going online nuts at each other, and I'm not really wanting to do that. What I'm trying to do is go like, hey, let's all laugh together with each other at each other. It's not that deep, like. I'm not that invested. Like I'm just here because I kind of like I don't know. I think silly will go. Okay, let's also be silly.
Silly sustains. Like I don't think silly ever goes away.
Like I mean, I don't like. Look, that's the thing about the dancing. It's not political. It's silly. I don't. Does it artistically fulfill me as much as like the special? Probably not. Like I like when I write a new joke that works, and like I'm like I have a bunch of new babies. I call them like little babies, and I'm watching them develop. Like I'm watching you with your bits about going in over at seas. I don't want to give away too much, but I see the little there's an ad. Oh, there's a little something. Oh, there's a little there. That's more gratifying for us as comics.
Right.
Than okay. Here, I know what this is, but it works great. It goes viral, sweet. No one else doing it. Okay, cool. But I'm trying to like rope you into my weird little world this way, and then go, oh, by the way, he's also a stand-up.
It's the commercial for you. I when I see the dancing, I'm like, I gotta see what else. And then you have another bit that I love.
You love the Tony Clifton character, right?
Yes. That's the one. When you're angry guy who's mad at everything.
Everything. So that guy's based on a guy. I used to work cruises because God hates me, and I
explain the cruises to the listeners. If you could explain. So what they do, because this is inside comedy, and I'm sure there's the people that listen to my show are like, they're not like sitting there like studying Rogan, for the comedy, nuances. Right. I think they're a lot like me, where they're like, yeah, I would go to the cruise comedy club, like I would see a comedy club on a cruise, go, oh, cool, and in comedy we're like, we're horrified, so explain it to the listeners.
So they there's a number of cruise lines. Some of them have actual comedy clubs on there. Some of them just have you in the theater. But it is a great way to make. I mean, you make more money doing that than you do clubs, and you do a lot of headlining gigs. You're making money. You can make a very nice, great living, but you're out to sea. So I was like, okay, before I have kids, I got to stack some cash. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna because I don't want my kids' first words to be like, who are you? Like, I want to stay home. And my goal was to like get into the Comedy Cellar and perform locally, do a little bit of out of town, but mostly I want to be a great dad. That's it. Because that was my goal. So they would hire me, and I would do either the theater. They would have me do 45-minute clean, 45-minute dirty, and and you learn the skill of how to write an act and keep material. Like, I'm very improvisational, but I had to keep like, okay, this is because I cannot burn material here. I cannot burn material there.
So you have to be able to do the clean show and the dirty show, and they have to be two completely different acts.
Well, yes, they're supposed to be completely different. So I had to develop basically up to like an hour and a half of material, two separate 45s. So I figured out I have to have a closer here, opener here, opener here. And I would sit in the room, and like I got on there probably before I was ready, which made me sit in my room and just go, okay, I got this here, I got there. Like one day I was on a cruise, and they didn't tell me I had a second show. I did what I was like, this is great. I did the show, and then the paper, like, what's tonight's event? Slipped under, and I looked at it and I go, it's me. Yeah. And I had no idea. So I had burnt all the material. Like sometimes you can, and it said not only that, this guy was such a jerk. He said family-friendly late night show. I'm like, dude, that's not, I don't have
That's an
that.
oxymoron.
Like, right. And he goes, well, it's already printed. I'm like, print again. Waste some ink. Like, canceled.
I love that a cruise ship is such like its own town that you're like,
yeah.
back to the presses. No, tell the paper boy to change the act. Yeah.
Extra, extra, read all about it. Comedian without another act. Gonna be on tonight. I want you to play harmonica and a bunch of instruments. Like I was writing harmonicas. I mean, do you imagine you have 8 hours to write basically 30 minutes? I had maybe 15 minutes saved, and I was like, ooh. So anyway, I learned that day. I was like, okay, I gotta have something in the pocket, and even if I think like just like someone gets sick and they go, we need you tonight, like it happens all the time. So you learn how to do that. Then once I got that, and I'm like, okay, got it. Then I'm like, I'm sitting around doing nothing all day. I'm like, I'm gonna bring a bunch of outfits, and because part of you like I love a lot of these passengers, and part of you loathes them. So I watched a guy like these. Understand, it's based on slave labor. That the whole cruise industry is based on the fact that there's no labor laws out to sea. So these guys are working. There's 4 of them in a bunk. They're working. They're making like $2 an hour, and they're away from their families, and it's based on exploiting third world nations. That's what the whole industry is based on.
Really? So, I mean, I didn't expect this to go this direction, but really?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm the silly guy, remember? But so when I watched a guy, for some reason there was a mechanical problem. There was a door that wouldn't open, and literally 5 feet over, the door was opening, and the guy was like, "I don't understand. I paid all this money, and that door doesn't." And he's screaming at a guy that I know is away from his family for 10 months, who's living in a bunker with 3 other people, who's not getting one break ever, 7 days a week. And I'm looking at, and I'm this guy, and like I'm just, these are real problems. So I based the character on that guy, and he reminded me. And I didn't realize it's very Tony Clifton-esque.
It is I wouldn't have thought of it until you said it, though.
So I just said, I'll lean into it because I'll go, this is Tony Clifton with a K instead of the C, because it is basically that character, which I didn't realize. Like sometimes I'll psychologically go like, oh, I haven't watched Andy Kaufman since I was a kid, but it buried in my subconscious. And then I'm going Tony Clifton, with the So I'm doing that, and I like the prank element, like where I pull up next to somebody and I start it's all improv, so just go like, and so I was like, and the problem is I start reading the comments and it's like, go back to dancing, and the negatives are first and then my brain goes, maybe this isn't funny, and then actually you said, I love this, and I went, yeah. I want the respect of my colleagues more than I want the respect of someone who lives in their mother's basement. So I went, and I like doing it. I have to remember, if I like doing it, that's all that matters. Right. If I like doing it, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter. The likes, the shares, everything else is if it speaks to me and I enjoy doing it and it makes me happy or laugh, then I'm going to lean into it. And it's easy to produce.
Staying on track for every single meal is exhausting. That's why there's Every Plate. Every Plate sends ingredients straight to your door with easy recipes to whip up in no time. New for 2025, check out Every Plate's Calorie Smart, Carb Smart, and Protein Smart options so you can streamline your goals. With their new Smart Swap recipes, you can even swap out items for healthier alternatives like getting lettuce wraps instead of tortillas or sweet potatoes instead of regular potatoes. I love what Every Plate's doing because they are the economical meal kit. And for you, if you want to get healthy, all you want is creativity. You want to make sure that you're not having the same thing every single day. And Every Plate's going to help you do that. Also, they're going to have the portions right. Because when you go to the market on your own, you buy too much, you end up wasting food, or you're eating too much. When you're trying to get healthy, portions are important. Creativity is important. It's stuff we don't think about. Also, I do think this is a mental health thing. When you put the meal together, you feel accomplished. You get it's a small goal to fulfill. I think this is great. Anyone looking to get healthier, Every Plate is a great option, and they're going to give you a deal. Every Plate makes your schedule lighter and your health goals easier to reach. That's the other thing. When you're looking to eat healthy, it's got to happen quick. It's got to happen without thinking. It can't be, well, I want the most delicious and I want to be able to make it quickly. And that option doesn't exist. You're going to find delicious, healthy options with Every Plate at a great cost. I mean, not a great cost, not a large cost. Great value. That's the word. Start with 50% off your first box with code JTrain50 at everyplate.com/podcast. That's 50% off your first Every Plate box with the code JTrain50 at everyplate.com/podcast. Every plate offer valid with auto-renewing subscription. And people on cruises, especially the person that you're like making fun of, like the not realizing how good you have it. Like you're literally complaining with a lobster claw in your hand while you complain. Like because I've been on cruise with my family, and it's like it's just gluttony at every turn. Like you can just sit under the froyo machine and just guzzle from it, and they'd be like, good for you. Like no one would care. I remember I went on a cruise once with my family, and like there was like we'll never forget, my family talks about it all the time. We're on this cruise, and like it's the night before you leave, and when the last night, you wake up at like 6 a.m. They want you off the boat, right? Yeah. Their big thing is turn over the boat, and you have to get out at like 6 a.m. So it's like all the kids go out, on the last night, not really thinking of like a 6 a.m. wake up. So we'll get drunk, and I remember our room was next to like these other guys' room, and their parents came over, and they're like slamming on the door. This guy's like screaming. He's like, wake up, wake up. And then he just, at one point he goes, you want to play? You got to pay. And we have, my family has repeated, you want to play, you got to pay, like for a lifetime, like 20 years. And just the amount of angry this guy was at his kids, where they have to catch a flight, and how much it's just like this. The ship is this like,
it's its own little world.
It's its own climate.
And there's cruise acts that their acts become cruise shippy, which is like, and then watch them on land, and it's like bad. And it's like, and I make fun of those acts. I go, I'm not gonna make fun of the, hey, I was whale watching at the buffet. 4 comics have that joke.
Really?
Yeah. The small, the loud toilet. The small shower curtain,
but that's the thing. You get stuck in that. Like we see that even if you're a New York comedian, you see the same New York joke. If you're but you also, like, I've realized
they complain to get free stuff. So they reward bad behavior. So they'll use you, like they will be like that guy that's going to go complain about the door to try, and they'll be like, oh, we'll give you internet for free. Shut up. And they do that. So they will use the comics. I record every show. I had a guy go to the head of the hotel director.
So this is interesting, because I want you to keep going with this, but I've done this with Delta flights, where it's like you can call Delta and be like, if you can be like, my TV didn't work, and they're like, here's 50,000 miles, and you're like, oh, I guess I should call Delta anytime I have any type of issue.
Correct.
Because now I know miles are coming. They just want to get rid of me, and miles mean nothing to them. So you're saying on a cruise ship that like there's this like that you're kind of like bait to someone who really wants to get one over on Royal Caribbean.
Oh yeah, I mean, yes, I had a guy say he told the audience what I paid for in art. And I've sat in a room with the big head of the whole ship, and they said, we understand you, during your show, you told the audience what a member, I go, no, I didn't. He got up in the front row and left at minute 2, and I made fun of him. I just said, oh, look, it's an early standing ovation. And I went on with my day or whatever.
Right.
And I sort of made him, but it wasn't that bad. And they said, well, it's his word against yours. I go, no, it isn't. Look, I have the recording. Listen to it. And they went, oh, yeah. Oh. Yeah, I guess he was lying. Yeah, he's lying. And let me guess, you were going to offer him, what, a free meal at the nice restaurant or free internet? Which one were you going to do? Right. They're like, oh, yeah. I go, yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that, because, like, again, like, the fact that you can make a great living being on cruise ships, you go, like, I remember I worked with a guy who was, like, a longtime cruise ship guy, and he had just, like, lost the gig. And he was devastated. Yeah. And
I know this. I think I know the same guy.
Well, when he did, it didn't seem like he did anything wrong, or like the rules are very much the rules. And like for comedians, like things can go awry pretty quickly. Like even last night, I was on stage. I did this joke about, a joke about a subject that like, if repeated, I sound bad. Like I was talking about like women coming, and I'm like. And now I sound like the dick dude who's talking about women, making assertions about women's climaxing, whatever. And it's like, but this woman was wrong. She was screaming, yelling out to me, well, you can't make a woman come, as I'm like trying to get into the bit. I was like, and I said, I go back on stage. I go, do you guys think that I came out on my plan was to come out on stage and go, it's make this statement about women and their climaxing and then go, good night, everybody. Like, do you think that was the plan? Like, you didn't even let me get mad at the punchline, get mad at where I'm going with this. Like, there's a reason for this. Like,
I mean, that's why there's like a disconnect between live performance and once it gets online. And like I have a joke, and I know I'm so afraid to put it online, but I'm like, I think you should be able to separate the artist from the art. Like, I'm a big fan of Bill Cosby, not the comedian. And so I know
I heard you do that joke last night, and I laughed as I heard it.
Yes, I think it's fun. But the problem is people are gonna go like, you're pro whatever.
Which is,
and I'm
but
like,
that's
no,
right. It couldn't be more
I'm
jokey.
not. Right, that's what I'm saying. It's silly. It's
right,
like,
but
obviously I'm not like a real racist is not going to make racist jokes in public.
Well,
they do it behind closed doors.
The problem we have is the problem with the internet is there's really no there's no win for defending you. And I talked about this actually on this podcast where like who's going to be like, no, we like the joke about Bill Cosby drugging women. Like it, like no one
the more
needs.
I think about it, the more I think it is a good idea to put it on that.
Right,
Yeah,
like
I think, right. No. There's
like no one's like defending that is frivolous, and then like the one person who they rightfully like maybe they have an experience. Like I can't take away their feeling. Like they have an experience, and you go right.
Just for the record.
Right, but even to bring it up, like especially with the nature of TikTok or Instagram, where you're scrolling and then you're like dog picture, coming home from war video, and then you're like Rich Aronovitch is like Bill Cosby pretty cool, and you're like, what the fuck is this? Like I do understand, and then someone goes and wants to comment like. There's no win to helping you, and the clown. Us as the clowns, we are not to be helped. Like there's no.
I did a video where there was a fake interpreter, and a lot of people have done this. And you can use like a TikTok like template or whatever, and it's easy editing, and you just go in and you pretend you just do ridiculous interpreting.
Yeah.
And it went viral. And part of the reason it went viral is people started arguing in the comments. It got political, like this is fake news, it's CNN, and then some woman, my brother is autistic or whatever.
You can't say.
And I go.
They win.
Making fun of the interpreter, not. And
right.
By the way,
no, but it doesn't matter because that woman, I'm not gonna go up to that woman and be like, well, listen, he's trying to do something funny here. Like it doesn't matter. Have you ever done the interpreter thing on stage?
I don't think you.
Have you ever?
I've had an interpreter next to me. Sometimes on like in a show they have an interpreter, and you can make them say things like They have to say whatever you say. So like I'm really attracted to deaf guys. I just take them behind a dumpster and blow. And they're like, I take you behind the dumpster. I'm serious.
But if you ever done I want to see you doing the being the interpreter doing it badly. Like I think like. I would do anything because so again to go back to the special because we want to make sure people go watch it. It's richisfunny.com, richisfunny.com. It is on Rich's page. It is called The Artist. Watch for the end bit. Watch the whole thing. It's funny. The end bit just made me
the end bit is stupid. Yeah, I really
stupid laugh. I just I laughed in the
what I'm doing. Yeah, and you're like, oh no. Oh.
I just was watching that and I'm like, do we with so much in the world. Like of all this stuff, like this is what we should be laughing about. But the one thing New Orleans Jew, we'll end on this.
Yeah.
You grow up in New Orleans as a Jew.
Well, I'm looking at your T-shirt the whole time, and I see the fleur de lis, and I'm like, is that the Saints? And I realize, it's Montreal.
I went to a restaurant.
French thing.
Yeah. I went to a French restaurant. Do you speak French?
No, which is French for no.
Oh, did you high school like?
I lived. Okay, so I grew up. From 10 months.
Why were your parents in New Orleans?
So my mother's father moved down there because they wanted to get away from the cold in Canada. So they moved there, and my uncle had already moved there, and it's like a fun town. It's a flex. Being from there is a flex.
Yeah.
So it's a great town. It's a small town, even though it's got like a lot of, and it's fun, and it's a great place. Everyone destinates there for their weddings and their jazz fest and Mardi Gras and whatever. And it's usually decent enough weather, except in the summer, and it's fun. And the food's great, the artwork's great, the drinking's great, and it's just a party town. So they moved down there, and that's where I grew up. And
Do you like being from there?
yes, I think it's a flex.
Yeah,
think it's
I
super
agree
cool.
with that. Like you say that to
Yeah.
people and they go, "What?" I'm sure.
Yeah. They're like, what was it like? I used to go listen to like amazing music for like $5. I could go to bars at 15 years old. I had my license at 15.
When you go other places, were you like, did it? Because when I go to New Orleans, I'm like, this isn't America. Like this is its own. Like it's just
yeah.
not.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Like, do you go to other places and you go like, because like, I think like someone was saying, I was in Montreal and I'm in the Uber, and the Uber driver made the point to say that like Montreal, Boston, Chicago, New Orleans are the only North American cities with history. And I understood his point. I was like, what about New York? He goes, New York's 200 years old. He's like, that's nothing. Like, he's like, these are places like with actual, like huge, like European style history. And I guess I understood where he was coming from, but like
say you're French Canadian without saying you're French Canadian.
He wasn't. He was from Yugoslavia actually, and he took a lot of pride. He loved America because he loved he was waxing on. But the one thing I'll say is like you don't go to New Orleans and see a Walmart. You don't see Anytown USA. You don't see the street that looks like every other street in the country. It is something we lose every day. Like. The more I travel, the more everything looks the same except New Orleans,
Yeah, New Orleans is definitely special. And I had a lot of history there and a lot of like really good memories and good times. And every time I go back there, I love it. I just reached out to I started doing comedy there when I was like 18. Ken Jeong, with like before he was famous, was like, "You're funny. You should tell a joke, and if you win, you open for our improv group." And I was like,
"Really?"
Great. That's how I started. So I was making him laugh outside this place called Movie Pictures, and I was bored with the movie, so I was outside, and he's like, and I was on guy because I was 18 and I had no outlet, and he was like, "You're funny."
Ken Jeong was there?
Yeah, he was doing his residency at Tulane. Dr. Ken. That's where he became a doctor in New Orleans at Tulane.
And he just saw you outside of a theater, like a mime.
They were on a break. They had an improv group called This Is Brown,
okay.
and he said, "Listen, at the end of the show, we do a joke contest. The winner does 5 minutes of stand-up before us. Then they open the show, and that's what happened. I told a street joke, I won, and then I opened for them next week. And I started under the name Smooth Daddy Johnson because I was 18. I didn't know. I was like, let me get a laugh before I get on stage. And I was like, and I held on to this. Is how stubborn I am. I held on to that bad idea for 3-4 years.
You were Smooth Daddy Johnson for 4 years?
Yep.
You would walk in and people go, "That's Smooth Daddy Johnson"? Like that's how they knew?
Hey, Smooth Daddy, yeah.
It's funny, like something
horrific.
like that goes with New Orleans though. Like like the idea that there would be a guy in the New Orleans comedy scene known as Smooth Daddy Johnson, like that's like something I would like go, "Oh, okay." Like that's like one of those weird comedy things.
Yeah. Jared, I went to Emory in Atlanta. I got booed off stage at the Uptown Comedy Corner for 3 years. I go there once a week at their open mic, and I never did well once.
Why?
I got booed off stage because I was, first of all, it's urban, I think is what you're supposed to say, all black comedy club. I was the only white guy there. Ladies and gentlemen, Smooth Daddy Johnson, and I walk in my 5'8", with like characters and hats, and they're like, "What?" And they knew me. Because it was like, oh, this guy sucked. So they were like ready to boo me. Like my friends were like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'll get better." And this is even worse. I would produce shows to try to get a better stage time. I would run around campus, go, "Guys, you heard Smooth Daddy Johnson's coming to the depot." They're like, "Who?" I'm like, "You don't know who he is? The guy's amazing. He's this comic, and he just happened to be in town tonight. You got to come see him." And then I packed the place, and they would show up, and they would be me. And they're like, "Oh, that's the guy who handed me the flyers. What the hell?" Yeah, Yeah.
You're like, I mean, like these stories are legitimately like Forrest Gump of comedy. Like
Dude, I used
to
to
go
wear a
from
hat.
New Orleans and Smooth Daddy
Yeah.
Johnson to the cruise ship, and now you're dancing. Like this is like 30 lives.
Dude, I used to go to stand up New York. I was the manager, so they pay me $10, and I would seat people, give them their food, and then I would go on stage and do the check spot, meaning while they're paying their checks, I'm performing. But
Yeah.
I didn't want them to know that I was the guy who sat them, so I wore a hat with a fake ponytail, fake glasses, and I would change shirts, yeah,
Stop it.
I
And not acknowledge it? You wouldn't say like this is.
They didn't recognize me because I had a hat with a ponytail and fake glasses, so I was just like in disguise when I sat them, and no one's really paying attention to the door guy. And then I go on stage, I switch shirts, I take off the hat, I take off the glasses, and then it was like, so I would have a chance.
This is your next TikTok character. This is like gotcha. Like what would you do? Like you know,
Yeah, I mean, I would hand out flyers. I mean, I did everything I had to do to get on stage. Because I was just like that hungry for success, really. I thought like the only thing you control is your work ethic. So I'm like, I'm gonna do anything. And I see you're very much, I've known you since you got big, and I'm like, this guy's got the eye of the tiger.
I appreciate that. No, listen, that's why I love you. Everyone go follow Rich is Funny on all platforms. You got to go, again, watch the special. We want you to watch the special. The special, Laugh Out Loud Funny, it's on richisfunny.com. Go. The link is in the bio of this episode. But I want you also to go to this TikTok, and you just have so much fun there. Like, I just watch it, I go, and I'm like.
I like Instagram better. I think I'm doing
Instagram?
more. Yeah, I like Instagram because I'm doing more variety. I am dancing on Instagram, but I'm putting it in every fourth. I'm doing a character, a stand-up.
Well, Instagram kind of allows for it more. Like, you know,
yes,
TikTok
they
encourages the same every time.
They want you to do the same. Like, I love making fun of this character, Whoa Vicky. I'm sure you know who she is. She's got like 10 million followers. You know who she is? She's a white girl who speaks like she wants to be black, and I love mocking her. And but they take down the videos. I put them up, they start to go viral, and they're like, bullying, everything's a bully. So I was like, TikTok.
Don't you put on the nails and everything? You put on like
yes, and then if you dress up like someone, they consider it bullying.
Okay, well, go to Instagram. Rich is Funny on Instagram. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Go watch the special. I'm Jared Freid. We'll be back next week.
Thank you.
Boom.